Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to If You Don't Know, Now You Know. My name's Mr. Hecker. Thanks for joining us here today. And this beautiful guest here I have today, Laura, how are you?
I am great, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to do what you do. Obviously, we've known each other. We've done breathwork and stuff before. But yeah, tell us a little bit about how you started doing what you do.
Okay, so I live in New Zealand, for those who don't know me. I am a clinical nutritionist and holistic health practitioner and also a Wim Hof method instructor. So I probably, like a lot of people, finished up at school and, to be honest, wasn't really sure what path I wanted to go down. I was really driven to want to go travel, but I was also blessed to get a scholarship to go to Otago University. And it was literally like I could choose whatever I wanted to do. But at that time, I was looking for fun. So I flipped through the whole manual and I thought, PE, phys ed, majoring in exercise, prescription and management. That looks like me. There's a lot of practical elements. And so I went down to Otago Uni and I did phys ed, majoring in exercise, prescription and management. Also did like a lot of human nutrition kind of papers, psychology, and just like marketing and just a whole lot of random array alongside. Anyway, at the end of my degree, I went into working for a regional sports trust here. And it was probably in a little bit of disarray at the time. So I ended up managing the Otago region for the Green Prescription Program. So the Green Prescription Program was a program run by the government, it's actually still going today, that looks at helping people with lifestyle medicine alongside what a doctor would prescribe. So at the time, it was really like a person would come to you if they've been to the doctor multiple times, they literally can't be given any more medication. It's like, let's funnel them off to the Green Prescription Program to see what they can get out of that. And so over the couple of years that I worked down there, I got to probably experiment with a lot of the stuff that I was taught at uni, and then also develop my own ideas around what was really going to benefit a person, what creates change in a person to want to go forth and kind of be the best person that they can be. And so from there, I ended up at Sport Bay of Plenty, which is up on the North Island, doing the same thing there. Kind of got my travel in, spent a bit of time in Central America and Southeast Asia, Indonesia, gathering all those amazing, I think, cultural experiences and learning from different communities and exploring, because I love being outdoors. When I came back to New Zealand, I probably wanted to get my mind back into something, and so I picked up through the College of Naturopathy, doing my nutritional science diploma. So I did that, and then at the time I had two young kids, they're now 6 and 9. But I think as a mother too, you know, when you sometimes get thrown into that, and it's awesome being a parent, but also you can feel a little bit like you're changing nappies, you're getting food ready, you're just in that like routine cycle. And I wanted to be able to still use my mind and learn at the same time. So it worked out really well that I could study over that time when the kids were young. And then when they kind of headed off into school, I was able to launch my business, which has revitalized me. So it's a combination of helping, whether it's just somebody who's, you know, had gone through the cardio program at the hospital, or athletes, or mums with kids with eczema. I help them get to the root cause of what's actually going on. And rather than dishing out medication, we actually look at, you know, how they're sleeping, how they're breathing, kind of the foods that they're eating on a daily basis, movement, looking at bringing in challenge and play into day-to-day, looking at realigning cycles with nature. And so those results, you know, sometimes you can actually wean off the medication that people are on, and sometimes it's done alongside. So all of those things really have made me, I suppose, just really in awe of what the human body has the capacity to do when you give it the tools and give it the time to work with what you've got, embrace your human. And so from that, I also developed, I suppose, an interest in the Wim Hof method. Initially, I watched like the Vice documentary and listened to the Tim Ferriss podcast, and was like, wow, after doing the breath work myself, just like I would love to be able to facilitate this, particularly for clients, you know, when they come to you and you just want to give them that powerful experience so that they can get the ball rolling. And I think with the breath work, it really can give a person that real kind of, wow, this is amazing. I have the ability to actually ground myself, to bring about peace when I've walked into here really frazzled. And so I flew off to America last year, twice actually, to do like the advanced course, and then was like, man, I really want to be an instructor. So I went over and did the master's course. And then it's been a whole year actually of just incredible experiences, being able to share that through workshops, working with others passionate in that field as well, and delivering some really amazing events. So it's been a long process, but I think it's always interesting, isn't it, what we learn along the way. And sometimes when we're in stuff, we're kind of like, oh, this isn't really what I want to be. But then in a couple of years, you can see the relevance and why that is so important as to how it's aligned to what you're doing now.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been watching your journey obviously on Instagram as well. And I just want to give you a quick plug as well. Can you just tell the audience where we can find you on Instagram, because I'll put it up on the screen and down in the description as well. So where can we find you on Instagram?
So I'm at revitalizeme_Laura Warren.
Okay, lovely. And I'll throw that in the description. Everyone go check her out, because I've been watching your journey for a while now. And I've also had the privilege of you held that a Zoom call breathwork session for us, and we did ice baths and stuff during the middle of COVID. So just a big thanks for that as well. And I was actually amazed at actually how detailed and how much you knew, because I've been to a lot of breathwork sessions and I've been to a lot of workshops, and I guess your knowledge and your understanding of what you're teaching was really thorough. I've never been to another person as well where like you sat us down and you explained everything to us, and it's via Zoom as well. So, and I got immense amount of value out of that call and just what you spoke about to us there. So a big kudos to you there as well. And I know the years of studying and the years of educating yourself is really paying off. But I want to ask, what was the thing was there a day or moment where you're like, okay, I want to go do the ice baths and the breath work with Wim Hof? Was there a day where you're like, okay, was there a specific event that you went to and you're like, okay, that's me now, I'm hooked?
Yeah. Do you know, it was... like I said, I watched those two documentaries. It's really interesting how sometimes it's just like the universe is telling you to do something. And my sister sent over the documentary. She's like, oh, you should check this out. I listened to the Tim Ferriss podcast, and I was walking past the aisle at the library. I love reading. And it was the What Doesn't Kill You book on the end of the aisle. And I was like 3 times in a week, okay, I'm just gonna, like really get into this. Like I did a lot of research at the time. And I think, when you kind of read about it, you see other people doing it. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna lie down, I'm gonna do this breath work. And it was just such a powerful experience, I think, for me, because I'm probably like yourself, it's like you're either fully in or you're fully out. And when you do something, it's like I'm gonna go all into it. I'm gonna just like throw my passion, throw my energy. And so, yeah, I think for me too, when you're maybe it can be a little bit frazzling sometimes, because it's like, oh, that looks awesome, I really want to get fully into that. Oh, actually, this is really interesting now. And you can start to feel a little bit fragmented. And I probably was at that particular time going, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And that breath work for me coming out of it was such a powerfully grounding experience. And it was like, this is the missing link. This is what I have But yeah, this is what I need in my life, but I also think it would be extremely powerful to share with clients as well. And so literally I looked it up, and within 3 weeks I was on the plane to America to do the advanced course. That's probably the type of person I am.
Yeah, I just...
In a nutshell, I hadn't even done an ice bath before. But in saying that, New Zealand is quite cold.
Yeah.
I've always done like a lot of surfing. I spent like 6 years all up down in Dunedin. It's like you walk across snow to get into the surf at the beach at times of the year. So I probably have experienced more the ice bath scenario in nature, but not your let's load the freezer up and get in there. So getting into this ice, like this actual ice bath with this whole group of people in LA with, Wim Hof doing his thing on the side, it was quite amazing. And I was like, wow, this is really cool, Like I think bringing people together and giving them those kind of like almost like out of your typical life experiences. And then people bond over that too, and seeing people just so incredibly stoked with themselves to come through that. And be like, actually, if I can get into the ice bath and I can learn to breathe with that and I can develop a bit of comfort within the discomfort, how can that translate with whatever's going on in life?
That resilience,
and so
building that resilience.
Yeah.
That's like in my experience, that's what it's really taught me is building up a lot of resilience and doing the things that I don't like doing necessarily. So it's good.
Yeah.
What?
Because the thing is, we all want to be good. I think it's dealing with stress, right? But it's like if you don't go to the gym and train your muscles, you can't expect to be strong. Or if you don't go for a run and you want endurance, it's not going to work for you. So it's just like stress. If we don't actually train our stress response, how can we expect to not be that reactionary person when life throws you curveballs? Because that's life, right?
Yeah.
It's not a smooth flowing, easy, just linear road. It's up and down and windy and all over the show.
Yeah, your story is actually really interesting to me today because I actually never knew that stuff about you. That, like, I guess before you got into Wim Hof, like all the studying and the research that you've done before it as well. Like you're quite, like I guess, educated in the holistical kind of health side of things before you even stepped into the Wim Hof breathing side. So having that kind of background, I feel was yeah, that would be so powerful. Like I'm looking forward to coming and doing one of your workshops as soon as these doors
I can't wait.
open up.
You're gonna get your barefoot up the mount.
Oh.
You're locked in, buddy.
I'm locked in. I've been watching it for a while. I'm like, okay, when the borders open up, that's me. Because I also thought about doing the Wim Hof experience and trying to go do the advanced course as well. And I remember looking at it and it was like booked out straight away. I remember looking at it and it was like, it came out, it must have been released that day or something, and then it sold out that day. And I was like, holy shit, I think there must be a lot of interest in this. And obviously that's when I started doing it, and I got an ice bath at home, and ever since then it's been really good. But I want to dive off the career side for a little while and dive into, I guess, the backstory and understanding, like, obviously speaking social media as we were beforehand, we got on this call, there's a different side of your life that you live as well, and like you have children, you have a career, and there's all these other things that people don't see on your social media. Explain what it's like, I feel like, in your space and doing what you do, especially in New Zealand. I don't know if there's a great deal of people doing what you do over there at the moment, I feel. And what's it like? Like, what's a day-to-day life style for you? Like, what's some challenges that you've come across daily?
Okay, so yeah, like we were saying before, it's super interesting with social media and how people start to perceive your life or who you are from literally edited photos that are put up, okay? And I think this is really something that before you judge somebody or before you actually start thinking, I want to do what they're doing, you really do. You actually need to find out what they're actually doing. Because the reality is, I know on my social media, when you scan down, it looks like I'm going from mountaintop to waterfall to, these amazing, events. But the reality is, the majority of the time, I am actually in an office. I do work one-on-one with people. doing consultations. So a typical consultation process when somebody comes to see me is like an hour and a half, and we get into all the nitty-gritty parts of the body systems, emotional, mental, spiritual health, and really look at addressing the root cause of any health issues that a person's experiencing. I'm also blessed that I get to go into workplaces and do like workplace wellness, or I do contracts with different companies around different themes that they might be running through their workplaces. And then I also do personal training. So I do have an awesome variety of what I do during the week. But the majority of the time I am actually based in New Plymouth. A typical morning is, like most mums, getting your kids organised to school and off and out the door, prepping up for my days, and then also going into events. There's like a huge amount of behind the scenes events, behind the scenes, that goes in before you're actually doing these events. And so, for something to have a really smooth flowing process that looks seamless, there's a lot of stuff that goes into organising that. Just like, as you would know, getting a podcast together, you don't just turn up and, oh, hi, how are you? There's a lot of, finding out about the person and all that preparation that you have to do. So, so for people that I know that a lot of the questions came through were really based around like, I think you have my dream job. I want to do what you're doing, and how do you travel so much? But New Zealand, you also have to remember, is quite a small space, and I am driven to get out as much as possible. So I do a fair bit of research before I go to any different area, and I'm like, okay, I want to knock off that waterfall, and I want to see this viewpoint, and I want to check out this place, and so anything like that, it's the preparation that makes you be able to jam everything in a short space of time.
The preparation is key. And just on that as well, like one thing I find with people in New Zealand is that like they don't go very far. I find a lot of people like some travel quite far, but I'm like, I'll drive 2 hours up the road. That's okay for me. And I'll just go on a trip. Like, I'll go 2 hours down the coast just on the weekend, just go and see them places. But, like, when I'm been to New Zealand, I'm like, I got a van, and we'll just go for a spin, like, to here and there. And they're like, oh, that's way too far. So, yeah, New Zealand is quite small, and it's like, it's so nice because you guys have got so many options there to drive around.
Yeah.
I wanna know, actually, what's one of the best workshops you've done? It just kind of come to my mind. Like, what's one of the best workshops you've done? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I think I love collaborating with people that are really passionate about what they do. And so we have a mutual friend, Tane. We've had some amazing workshops together that we've run in a few different locations in New Zealand, actually. And then I've also another friend, Sandro. We've just had one really recently over at the Tongariro National Park. And so for me, the Wim Hof method is really powerful when people get to experience that group work session, connecting with maybe a new community. It's amazing watching people come into a space and obviously all those nerves and anticipation about what they're going to experience. And for a lot of people, they're so focused on that cold aspect, like, how am I going to deal with the cold? You always get all these emails the night before, people think, oh, no, I don't think I'm ready for it. I don't think I've had enough cold showers. But then they just get blown away by the breath work aspect and the stuff that it brings up for them. Also things that kind of percolate to the surface that all of a sudden they realise that they actually can clear. Or they have like the mindset now to actually address some of those things rather than feeding into that repetitive story that we can often tell ourselves. And then walking into these beautiful locations where I always try and find quite an amazing a waterfall. Waterfalls for me, all those negative ions, like it's so energizing, and also that very cold water is such a cleansing process. So to get people in that all together, really having, if they need to do a bit of primal screaming, just getting in there and actually feeling. Because for a lot of people, just feeling is like a really probably different experience, right? People just get so jammed up with being so busy all the time
So
that
numbed
actually
out.
just being,
Yeah.
just being in the moment and feeling, like, what do you feel? Like, it is just cold. Like, you can work with this, you can deal with this, but you just have to be in the present and put one footstep in front of the other, rather than always focusing on either these future elements or, like living in that past, repeating this stuff almost that's been happened. And so you live in this ongoing cycle of story that's not necessarily serving you. So those events are the most powerful for me, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And just on that, actually, if you're ever in Christchurch, I just remembered, I have a really good space for you to go. We found one there,
cool.
and it's like, it's perfect. It's like a round pool.
Yeah.
It's like a round pool, and it's like it's like a straight circle. It's a good depth, and it was
Is it Washmore Falls?
No, I don't think it is
Washmore Falls?
Nah, it's not Washmore Falls. It's a different one.
Okay.
I don't think it's that one. I don't think. Nah, that doesn't say. I would have remembered the name of that. But yeah, it was. We went there when we went to Christchurch, and it was actually amazing. Didn't look like it was very well used. Wasn't a really good used track, so it was out of town a little bit as well. But yeah, really good spot. And I've seen all the spaces that you go on Instagram and stuff. And I'm like, they look nice and cold. They look nice and cold. So
But a nice snow runoff's always good.
Oh yeah, I see it. I'm like looking at it. I'm like, oh, am I ready for that yet? Am I ready?
You're totally ready, man. You've got those ice bars nailed.
Oh, I've been off them lately.
When you're in that group situation, though, I think people at the end, they're like, oh, I actually had a choice. I didn't have to get in there. But it's like, aren't you glad you did? Like, you got, that group dynamic really just draws everyone in.
Yeah, it would, definitely. So I want to dive off this for a little bit. So we've spoken about your career and the work that you do, and a bit of background in personal life. I want to talk about any struggles that you faced in life. Was there moments in time that you've had where you're like, okay, I have to dive into this work deep? I want to talk about, we've spoken about the highs, maybe some lows in your life. Has there been any particular moments of adversity in your life that you could speak into?
Yeah, well, I think I was incredibly blessed, and I was thinking about this, because going through, nobody goes through life unscathed, right? We all have our different trials and our different perceptions around what life is kind of giving us. And I think, like everybody, we all go through, probably in our teenage years and going early 20s, it's like finding your place, what I really want to do, what I want to, give back and hold that value of, I feel like I've been given much. I was born into a family that, they love me for starters. I've had a mum and dad, which is a huge blessing. I've been raised in a Christian family as well, and so my family is really strong belief in God. It's not religious by any means, because religion to me really takes away a person's connection to God. And that for me is huge. I believe, with our spiritual connection, it is about having a friendship and being there because you want to be there. It's not just I'm here going through the motions. I say go to church just to sit in the pew and clap my hands when I'm meant to clap. It's actually bringing back that, going out into nature and being in awe of creation. So I feel like for me, I have a really strong grounding and what I believe spiritually, and I view people as creations. I don't believe that we are just here by chance. And so I think that in times that have been a bit of a struggle, over the course of life, the things that have probably affected me the most is my brother had really struggled with addiction. through that whole process as a family, it can be really, it's hard to watch your mum and dad, you know, like feel like they have just bottomed out, and struggling to see, you know, like where they've gone wrong with that. And also I think like within a family dynamic, when there is a person, you're only kind of as good as your weakest link, right? You know, and it's not like it's a weak link to have that, but when somebody is day to day struggling, and I think like the disruptiveness and, just, you know, when you want to be that empowerer, you want to go in there and just fix it all for them, that has been hard. And probably the times that I've struggled the most is more so when you feel like you're not in control of the situation. Because I'm probably by nature, it's like I'm a solutions-based person. I can see the issue. I know how to work out how to fix it. And when you can't do that, that obviously brings up stuff in you as well. So for me, I think that's probably been like this, that was the hardest struggle. But in saying that, after about 10 years of, you know, a lot of turmoil and up and down within that, you know, going through rehab and then bottoming out and hospital and all those kind of things, I now have a brother who has come, I suppose, full circle. He's working in the halfway houses in New Plymouth, helping people deal with the addictions. He's studying psychology. He's working at a retreat that helps with suicide prevention. And so, like we were talking about before, when you're in the thick of something, you can't see the entirety of it. You can't see, you know, the empathy that it's developed in me, you know, because when maybe you haven't struggled with those certain issues, in the beginning it's easy to go, oh, it's just like a lack of willpower thing, or, you know, like you're just in with the wrong crowd, make some new friends. But I think through all that process, it does. It bubbles things to the surface that maybe you're not comfortable with dealing, but also you start to understand and develop, you know, a wider range of skill set and just, like being, you know, accepting a person just as they are, where they're at, is so powerful, I think, in terms of helping them with their own healing, rather than me being the solution like, okay, we're just going to use this, I'm going to take you to the gym 5 days a week, we're going to feed you some nutritious food. It doesn't always work like that, right? So, let's just get an ice bath, you're going to be sweet. No, it doesn't. So, I mean, I think the learning process through all of that has been huge. And I think, you know, I also work at that suicide prevention centre. It's called the Taranaki Retreat. It's an amazing place for people to be able to go to. It's all run by volunteer. But, you know, having gone through that personally, you do understand. And I think rather than just being that person that gives advice, it's more so about becoming that person who really listens, not to give back, but just to listen. And I think for people, you know, that's often just what people need, right? They just need to be heard. They don't need to be spoken to for you to respond back to them. So yeah, that's probably been a key, I would say, a key thing that's changed me, and also given me, probably a desire to help people through that kind of the mental health struggles, and also like a greater understanding of, you know, addiction. I think too is like it's one of those things, people often go down that addiction pathway when they struggle to regulate their own nervous system. And so it's also using tools that we can get from nature to actually help with those desires as well. And then kind of you can use some of those things to actually help people wean off addictions, particularly when they can get like a really a powerful response, I think, to it.
I can speak into that as well. I feel like it's important to, because I struggled with addictions as well for a long time.
Yeah.
Like myself, I was addicted to ice there for a long, and for so many years, I was like, oh no, I just like to party. I had this
Yeah.
excuse, but I actually, in hindsight, I was actually addicted to, meth, and it was a really hard time in my life. And yeah, for me, I had to actually swap that out because my personality was so addictive to things, and I wanted that, and that was what was feeding it at the time. And yeah, I ended up switching it and using exercise, kind of like I swapped that thing out, and just like really hard exercise and working really hard, and that's kind of how I had to pivot out of it. But yeah, just like hearing that story about your brother, it's like my oldest brother is much the same. And empathy is what I had to learn, because although someone, you can help someone, they have to help themselves, and that's kind of the hardest thing to sit with a lot of the time, especially when you've got the tools to be able to navigate them through what they're going through. And there's many times it's frustrating, and it's teaching you the lessons. It's just like sometimes it can weigh it probably ground you right down and wore you down to a very impatient times. Like myself, I was just like, oh, you're just wearing on me, wearing on the family, wearing on everything. And it gets hard, but yeah, I think empathy is the biggest thing that I learned out of it as well. And yeah, just say a big kudos to you for sticking in there as well, because look what happened. Like now your brother, he's working and he's helping other people through their addictions, and I know that he'd be able to understand them on another level as well. So having someone like him working in that space that's the best place for him, I feel, because people that have been through it can relate. It's kind of hard when you haven't been in the seat yourself as well, or being close to somewhere like that, that you can really help them and understand it as well. So big kudos to you for that, for sticking in there as well, because I know that's probably would have been a frustrating time for your family.
Yeah, I think with anything it is, when we have these kind of acute things that happen, it can kind of give you that initial, fight or flight stress response. But I think that it is that wearing down of like a chronic stress that, it's the worry of up at late at night, or it's the thinking I should have done this, and going through that whole process, that is wearing. But in it, like you say, we learn so much about ourselves, and sometimes when we're in the thick of it, you're just like, what is life trying to teach me here? Like, what is going on? But then you come out of that and you see it in its entirety. And not that I would wish that on anyone, or, for him, because obviously, like, everything that he had to go through that process is a struggle, right? Like, it's not an easy route to go down. But now, I think, the joy of being able to, for him to come over and jump in the freezer, or meet him down at the gym for a sauna and hear about all the positive stuff, it's an overwhelming, joy to see someone flourish after, maybe, I'd say hitting rock bottom.
Yeah. Oh man, it's like, yeah, hitting rock bottom is not good. And I've hit rock bottom, a couple times now, just with addictions. And I can always look back at it, and as shit as it was, I'm actually so thankful for it as well, because it makes where I'm living right now so much better. So much better.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm happy. I'm stoked. I never want to go back there, and I won't. And I'll always, and it's made me so much more grateful for life in general. And on the back of that, I actually want to ask today, because we're talking about, the struggles and stuff. What are you grateful for today? Give me 3 things. What are you grateful for? What are you feeling today?
Today, I am grateful that I have a healthy body. Like, this is, it's probably a daily gratitude, but I'm really grateful for a healthy body. I'm grateful, actually, for being in New Zealand. We have a beautiful country. We've just been through our elections. I'm not going to go into political stuff, but I think New Zealand's probably in for a bit of a hard time ahead. But our country is incredible, and we do, like the people here, we have such an amazing mix of cultures now. And it is like, it's just so amazing to, you know, like to be able to go out and have that in your backyard, you know, to be able to learn from all these different people and ways of doing things and ways of being. And probably the other thing that I'm grateful for is that my chickens laid 2 eggs this morning.
Did you eat them?
I've only been getting one, and it's been quite annoying. I'm like, I'm feeding you guys. What's going on?
You eat 2 eggs.
2 eggs. 2 eggs on the toast this morning. It was good.
Oh, look out. The little things in life, hey, the little joys of life. It's I just on that, like the thing that you're most grateful for daily is your health. And that's such an important thing to be, and I'm like that as well sometimes, because I write down 3 things I'm grateful for every day, and health is always there. And sometimes I feel like a little bit cheesy for writing the same thing down, but I'm like, you know what? It's not, because for me, health is wealth, and I've been doing a lot of getting a lot more clarity and direction lately, and I've got my big 3 goals in life, and these are the 3
what are
goals.
they?
I'll tell you one of them. I'll tell you, my number one goal in life, my biggest one, is to live longer, and to live longer, and I guess that goes on for me, and it goes into very many different spaces, and it that's a lot there. But to sum it up, and all of my goals, if they don't align with that one goal, I don't do it. I don't do it. With my main 3 goals, if anything I'm doing in life doesn't align with those 3 things that I'm doing, I can't do it, and that's okay. But for me, live longer, what that means is, I guess in this world, in this life, we're gifted time, and if you do want to achieve more in life, you're gonna actually have to try live a bit longer. And the longer you live, and the longer you're here, and the longer you look after, and the better you look after your body, the more you're going to be able to achieve. So for me, it's like the other goals, that actually not going to be, it allows you to do more. And for me, I want to live longer. I want to live longer, and that may be to looking after my health, my body, my mind, and also number 4 is, like, everyone talks like body, mind, health. It's actually my environment as well, like the people I have around me, because I've like come to learn that the better the people around you, the less stress you have, or I guess the right stress you have, whereas people call you forwards and hold you accountable in certain areas. But you know, having toxic environments is detrimental for your health, and your stress levels, and having those right people around you. So for me, that my number one goal is making sure that those things are all in check at all times, and making sure that they're aligned. So yeah, health is wealth. Health is wealth, and it's been drilled into me lately. Well,
I think so, and I think, because, you know, often I say to people, you know, when they can't, like, are quite frazzled about, you know, like they don't have enough energy, and it's like really trying to bring people back to, like, you should not have more than 5 priorities, okay? So think of your hand. If you've got more 5 priorities that you're channeling your energy into, you're going to be frazzled. And at the end of the day, you know, like, people often say, oh, health is a priority, my family's a priority, doing well in my career is a priority. But if you actually think about, like, buckets, and, you know, your health is really your bucket, and everything else is kind of like the cups you're pouring into. Because if you're not healthy, you can't give to your family. If you're not healthy, you're not going to be able to turn up to work and give your full energy. And when I'm talking about health, it's like, hey, we might have different conditions, you know, we all have strengths and weaknesses, but it's being able to be the best person you are, and having the energy that you need to go out into the day with motivation to do the things you want to do, right? You know, sometimes people are born with different, you know, whether it's like I'm missing an arm, or, you know, there's things that go wrong, or accidents, or, you know, and sometimes we do have things, but it's also taking responsibility for some of those, like, chronic conditions that can develop through how we're living, and looking at different ways that we can go through our life and kind of promote that you know, that healing from the root cause. I think that's really important. Like, we talked about challenges before, and I think my health, this was probably stupid, very stupid in fact. I do quite like jumping off things. And when I was in Australia, actually, well, I'd been travelling, and we were staying with one of the guys who we met in Indonesia. And it was this was quite a few years ago, but it was his birthday, and he's like, I've always wanted to do this rock jump off this cliff at Emerald Beach. We're like, yeah, that's awesome, let's go do it. Anyway, it was quite high, I'd say roughly maybe close to 30 metres looking at the photos. And it was one of those things that you kind of had to jump out, and you kind of had to time it with the wave coming through so there was enough water. Anyway, the guys jumped, and I'm standing at the top going, this kind of feels like a bad idea, Laura. I think this is a bit out of your comfort zone. Anyway, I'm like, I'm going to be the only girl standing up here. Right, I'm off. So jump. And anyway, I hit the water, but didn't go like whack, bang, I've hit the bottom. But there was obviously a bit of a rock that was sticking out. And so one leg got jerked up. Like I hit the water, still had a bit of speed. That leg got jerked up. And initially, I didn't feel anything. We carried on. We were skating. We actually did a few other rock jumps. But on the way home, I just started to bend over, and I couldn't actually stand up straight. By the time we walked home, I was literally folded over at a right angle. Anyway, had no money after travelling. Didn't realise ACC had a reciprocal agreement with Australia. So I'm in like this some back alley like lady who was like a doctor apparently for the Indian Army. And she was like trying to do this ultrasound on my back, and ended up getting strapped up by a physio because after a week of lying flat on my back, I just could not like feel my upper body connected to my lower body. It was a very difficult time for me because I'm quite active.
Yeah.
Anyway, ended up back in New Zealand. But in saying this is an interesting thing too, because I ended up getting treated by a chiropractor. I never had any chiropractic treatment before. He was very holistic in how he worked. And we worked out that I'd actually like ripped my psoas muscle on one side, and that's why I wasn't connected. And it was a long time to recover. Like I would come right, and then I would maybe do a slightly longer run, and it would offset it, and then I'd be folded over again, and a lot of pain. But through that kind of process of me getting better, he also wanted a cranial therapist and someone to do massage. And so he trained me over those 2 years in cranial, and I worked for him doing massage and getting that understanding of the human body, and then also coming to deal with pain as well. You know, people talked about like back pain, and I was kind of always like, yeah. But when you like you say, when you go something through yourself, somebody says back pain now, it's like, I've been there. I know how bad that is. Like that is worse than childbirth for sure. That pain was so bad. So it is. It's interesting all the different things that you learn along the way, consequences for your actions. Think about how high you're going to jump in the future, Laura. But developing pain management skills along that time, learning more about the human body, and then getting to meet that guy, Peter Van Sweden, who's a renowned chiropractor in New Zealand at the moment. And he's actually walking the length of New Zealand at the moment in protest to the horrific abortion law that our government has brought in.
Okay.
So, yeah, he's very, very awesome go-getter guy.
Yeah. Yeah, we won't go down the whole politics rain today, but That's a long old conversation and road, but how are things just in a general sense over there? Like things they're quite back to normal there. I see they had the union on last night, and they had like crowds are back and everything like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't really watch the news. Like, in all honesty, I'm that person who goes, is COVID still happening? Because New Zealand is really, like, we have been super blessed in terms of unless you are trying to come back into the country and have to go through that whole quarantine thing. And where I live, like, I'm not in a full city. I don't have to deal with public transport or anything like that. So pretty much since I saw you and we were in that kind of lockdown period, like it's been pretty smooth sailing. Like I only had to cancel one event that I was doing, but everything else has been pretty easy going in terms of what we've had to probably give up. I know if you were living in Auckland, you might have a different perception of that, but the smaller towns in New Zealand definitely have been pretty
safe.
Pretty non-effective, really. Yeah.
That's like I'm like in our little bubble here as well. Like I don't watch the news as well. I just get it's only when I want to go over the border or something. I went to Byron the other day. I'm like, shit, I better get on the news and just see if we're actually allowed to go over there. But things are coming back to normal here as well. But man, I don't think, like, I'm hanging out to come to New Zealand. I never thought I would say it that much, but like lately, just because last year we went there so many times, and I was like, I want to go to New Zealand. I want to go to New Zealand.
Yeah.
It's been ringing my name lately, and I want to go over there. There's so many things I want to go see and do. We want to put some events on, and just I'm been missing having that connection with people, traveling around. Because like yourself, I'm very active. I need to be out and about. I talk to people. I want to meet new people, and just been having that, like, that little bit of a lockdown thing was like, oh, that really put made me really adjust and realize how grateful I am to be able to live where I am and be able to travel and move around. But I want to transition from that and say, like, what does the rest of the year look like for you? Like, what's the next 6 months look like for you? Having any goals, anything specific that you want to achieve?
So there's an interesting one. I would love to say that I'm super organised, right? But I tend to probably plan like month to month. So going ahead, not this weekend, but the following weekend, I've got my first 3-day retreat in the South Island. That I'm actually Tane's coming down to play a supporting role in that, or co-hosting with me. So this is really going to be like getting out. And did you come to the Mount Aspiring National Park when you were in New Zealand?
No.
Oh, yeah. So that's the place that you see, the blue pools, and it's got Mount Aspiring. Like, you are fully immersed in just jaw-dropping nature there.
Oh.
So really excited for that. So we've got a sold-out retreat, and so I'm hugely, hugely amped for that experience. Going forward into November, I've got a couple of retreats in that, retreat days. Actually going to have a girls' weekend up in Waiheke, which will be awesome, just for fun, because often, with these retreats, I know it all looks like it is just for fun, and you would know with your men's medicine event, when you're there and, the energy's flowing, like, it is amazing, but it is still, it's preparation, it's keeping everything flowing smoothly. So it'd be cool just to, be cool just to go away for the weekend and just cruise. And then, like, going into, and then it's like Christmas. Gosh, it's going to be so quick, isn't it?
It's gone
Christmas
super fast, hey?
Yeah, really fast. So, in all honesty, I actually haven't thought of anything for 2021. I'm finishing up, I've just done all the online part of the certification for XPT.
Yeah.
So do you know what that is?
No, please explain.
So extreme performance training with Laird Hamilton and Gabby Reed.
Yep.
Yeah, so Wim Hof trained Laird with his breath work, but he has his kind of own thing now. It's called extreme performance training, and it's a combination of breath work, a whole different varieties of breath work. And then, how I do the weights in the pool.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's that part of it, and then there's also the contrast therapy of the sauna and the ice pool. So it's more around peak performance, getting people to optimize their human. And I think Laird is really about, like, taking responsibility for yourself, like, stop outsourcing your health situation to all these, like, pills and different people. At the end of the day, you have been blessed with all the, everything that you really need through nature, and taking the time to actually, realign yourself to the circadian rhythms, doing things like, getting your bare feet on the earth, just sitting with yourself, like being okay to just be still, and feeling what comes up for you. So a lot of the stuff that is through XPT is kind of, once again, it's a way to help people understand the beauty, that innate wisdom that flows through us all, that we have been designed intelligently. And when we take the time to actually choose tools and practice those things repetitively, we see amazing results. The body will adapt for us, and the body wants to be awesome. It wants to be healthy, but we just sometimes have to create the space for the body to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, really
So
important.
that's so I have to fly to America to do the final 3-day practical, and then I'm officially a coach. But the whole thing is, like, I can get to America, but coming back into New Zealand, I'd have to quarantine for 2 weeks, which I don't know if I'm that good for. Also, it's like a huge amount of time out of life that you're stuck up in some room in Auckland.
That'd be pretty hard.
Really.
Hey? I actually considered that when we were when they were cancelling events over there. I was like, look, do I just go tough it out and go to New Zealand, and just so we got someone in New Zealand, and just tough out for 2 weeks, and then and then sort it out after COVID. But I'm like, luckily I didn't, because it just hasn't ended, so I would have been stuck.
Yeah. Well, that's it, and you've also got to pay $5,000 to be in there for the 2 weeks, which is quite a significant holiday allowance. Like, I could go to the Pacific Islands, I could go free diving, I could do this.
Yeah.
Whether I sit in a room, I'm like, I'd go crazy.
You're looking at all the little things that you've got to do, and you're like, I could spend that money on so many more better things as well. So, the joys of COVID. I don't know if I couldn't. It'd be hard to sit in a room for me. That'd be really hard for me. I want to know, just before we start wrapping up, because it's getting close to the hour mark, but I guess some tips. Like, I guess a lot of tips and advice. Like, what are some tips for your own health? Like, because we have so many I don't like leaning into, like, people just leaning into all the medicines, and like I always say to people, everything that you need is right here. It's all here. Everything that you need is within your own self. I guess what would be some tips for you for people that may be struggling with their health, their mental health, and just all around general health? Like, what would be some tips that you give them?
Okay, so I think, like, simplifying is good, and I think, the beauty of probably Instagram and technology and all this, we have this abundance of information that we can access all the time. But sometimes I think it's like too much information is actually no information, because it's just like, where do I even start through that filtering process? So I think we have a natural inclination to certain things, and it's working with what we're naturally drawn to, but it's also looking at things that challenge us, and to embrace some of those challenging things in a playful way. So if you were a person that's maybe struggling with your health, I would start off with looking at, how you're breathing, because breathwork is a really easy tool to bring into your day to day. And there's so many different apps and different, like YouTube, little meditations or headspace that you can drop into and actually experience that. Just slowing down. So everyone talks about taking deep breaths. It's not about like a deep breath where you're like expanding your whole upper body. So a lot of people it's like this. It's like it's really breathing into using the diaphragm. So almost focus on that point just below the navel and breathe slowly into that space. It doesn't take long to notice just a calming mindset starting to filter down. And when you come into a space with, a calm, rational mindset, then you can start looking at your perception around certain things. And so journaling is often a big thing here, like they say, worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it actually gets you nowhere. So if there's things that are going on that you're not happy about, write it down and look at it like you would a third person and go, hey, what kind of plan of attack, this is my solution base here coming through, what kind of plan can I make to actually get me out of the situation? looking at the reasons, I think, around, why you're in the space that you're in, and the reasoning as to why you're actually not happy with the space you're in. Yeah, is it the people around you? Is it, that you're not feeling energized? I think if you start to look down, like sleep, say, people don't get enough sleep. So I say a good day starts the night before. You can't expect to be energized and happy and living a full life if you're walking around tired all the time. So putting some practices, whether it's, people talk about a morning routine, but actually having a bit of a nighttime routine is really good as well. Lying on the ground with your feet up the wall, doing some of that slow breathing so you can drop yourself into your parasympathetic nervous system, like actually just working with the human body rather than against it all the time. Those little things, when you do them on a daily basis, actually equate to a huge change in how we feel overall. I think people think that, walking around with your bare feet on the ground or breathing or just having enough water, it seems so simple, too simple to actually cause any, positive health effects. Yeah. But it's actually those things that will make the most powerful change in your body. Also, I think, being a nutritionist as well, it's like going back to that whole food base. If you're eating predominantly out of a packet and you think of your body as a machine, say a car, for instance, we know we don't go put diesel in a petrol car. It's not going to go well for the car, right? And people are the same. We are not designed to be eating food that is full of preservatives and numbers just because it's quick and convenient. If you can only eat that way, you just need to reassess your life as into how to bring some of that whole food back in. When you're giving yourself fuel that's actually going to provide those baseline macronutrients and micronutrients, you're going to feel better overall. Yeah, because I think the whole thing is most people, it's like, I want energy. People crave energy. And it's looking, I think, too, like, are you living your passion? Maybe you don't get to work your passion, but at least if you're taking the time during the week to bring into, or creating that space so that you actually can, maybe it's playing the piano, maybe it's reading, maybe it is surfing, taking, actually allocating time to stuff that fills your cup up means in turn you are more freely to give out.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so those are some.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing that stands out the most is like the morning and the afternoon, the nighttime. The first hour and the last hour of your day is so important. That's stuff I really focus on as well. It's so important. And just on that, actually, something I learned recently for the listeners as well. I did this quite a while ago, but many people out there, and they're like just so flustered and they've got so many things going on. A little tool that I've got taught was I wrote everything down on the board. Everything that I was trying to do, put it down on the board or a bit of paper. Just make sure it's very visual, and write down like your work, like who you visit, who you talk to, all of those things, and then I go through and rate them, like what they are, like whether they're giving to me or taking from me, out of 10, and I wrote it all down. It filled up the whole whiteboard, and I was like, shit, no wonder I'm not feeling so great. And it's just like, it's not until you visually see it. I'm trying to do all that. I was like, that's not going to work. I was looking at how much time I have. I was like, there's no way I could possibly fit all that in there. And that's just constantly what I was doing. And I just narrowed it all down and just cut it down. I'm like, now that's achievable. What's in there? Now I can do all that, and it serves me as well. And I cut out all the things that weren't serving me. Like you said, filling your own cup is so important. But I want to wrap it up with the last couple of questions. This is like the end of the podcast. But let's say you had one wish to change anything in the world. I could wish you that wish. What would it be if you could change one thing in the world?
Change one thing in the world. I think that everyone is overflowing with love. Everybody had just aroha, love for themselves, for the environment, for each other. We'd be so loved up, we'd be happy, right? But not like, it's like love as in that agape love, you know, or it's acceptance. I think like if everybody like knew what like love, not just like as in relationship, sexual love, but as in genuine love and desire for the people around you to be loved and fulfilled, yeah, we'd be happy.
Yeah, definitely. And then the second last one, actually, I'm going to ask you another one today because you're this that. Is there any like a quote or a word of wisdom that you usually live by? Like, is there something that you always say to yourself?
Quote. I'd say the greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but rising in every time we fall. And that's Nelson Mandela. And so I think it's like back to like, we're human. We're never always going to succeed. It's the people that pick themselves up and give it another go, that those are the people that develop the resilience, that keep trying, that are going to be forever creative and are going to have the most impact, because our story of perfection is false. Our desire for perfection we're never going to achieve. But I think if we keep trying to be the better version and genuinely caring and serving others, that's when we are going to experience the most fulfillment and contentment.
I love that one. Okay, and then the very last question. This is a new segment that I'm adding, and you're the first one to be asked this question. But is there anything embarrassing that you ever done? Because I like to finish the podcast with a bit of something funny. Is there something like? Is there anything like? Because embarrassment's one of those things that we don't always talk about. I'm like, I've done so many embarrassing things.
My life. Okay, one thing that probably stands out is probably in Bali, they have this awesome pool party, and you also get handed out VIP in Bali to this pool party. And I thought it would be good to get up on stage with the belly dancers and do their dance with them and tackle my friend off the side of the stage into the pool. We got escorted out by the bouncers. That was quite embarrassing. But at the time, it was quite funny. But in hindsight, yeah, probably not.
Gotta live your life a little bit, hey? Gotta live your life.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, that is our podcast for today. Everyone, thanks for listening. Appreciate yous. If you could follow us on Instagram as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave us a review. But thank you very much. Appreciate your time, hey?
Oh, that's been a pleasure.
No worries. I'll see you on the next one.